Perché i monaci non possono far vedere le braccia e le gambe, le devono tenere coperte?
So the question is, why do the monks need to cover up their arms and legs all the time?
It is a difficult question. I would like to invite my brothers to help. It's beyond my capacity at the time.
So dear Thai, dear Sangha, I have never been asked this question. And I have never read anywhere also. But as I wear the robe, I also learn every day why I wear the robe. Why I don't wear t-shirt only. And why I don't wear shorts. And in Plum Village, we only practice one thing, which is mindfulness. And one of the most important practice of mindfulness is the body. And for me, when I wear the robe that is closed everywhere, is to remind me that my whole body is the source of mindfulness. So my hand has mindfulness, and my feet has mindfulness. Luckily, we don't cover our head. But our head is good, it's already shaved, so it also can remind us that we practice mindfulness. Because as a monastic, we are a full-timer of mindfulness practitioner. And those who does not live in monastery and you have your own home, you are a part-time practitioner. Yeah, which is good. Yeah, and then every year you can come here and stay for 1 week to be a full-time practitioner. Yeah, so when we wear our robe that cover our whole body, then when we walk, we are reminded that we walk in mindfulness. Yeah. And when we sit down, we also know that we are sitting down in mindfulness. Yeah. And then when we walk around, we also remind ourselves that we are mindfulness practitioner. Yeah. And because also, like for myself, I'm very easy to forget. So I need a lot of reminder. So my robe can be my reminder. And the robe of the other brothers and sisters are also the reminder for me. Yeah. Because the clothes is very different from yours. Yeah. And when you see us, you also remember to breathe. And sometimes it is very hot in the summer. But because it is useful, helpful for us to remember, then we use the robe also. Yeah. Thank you for the question. Yeah. If the brothers want to add more, please. One question per person. One question per person. Maybe before we start, I just want to remind the children, maybe we only can have 3 questions for the children. Yeah. But you can ask the question in your Dharma sharing tonight in the dinner time. So the brothers in your family will help you to answer the question. Yeah. So don't feel sad.
Quindi non siate tristi se avete delle domande, non ci sarà tempo per fare tutte le domande.
Perché i colori della tunica dei monaci sono bianco, azzurro, oppure blu e poi marrone?
Can you please explain the meaning of the different colors of your robes? So they are either white or light blue or brown. Is there a meaning behind that?
Dear Thai, dear Sangha, yeah, why are we wearing brown? You like the color brown? Yeah. So in the time of the Buddha, 2600 years ago, there was a man that lived as a king, as a prince, and he had everything in the world that he needed. But he realized that he was not happy. And he went out in the world and discovered that there were people in the forest who were practicing a very simple life. And these people, they lived from the alms offering from other people. And they found the clothing sometimes in a rubbish pile. And they took that, if it was still good, and they made a robe out of it. Now, in that time, we didn't have big machines and coloring in order to dye the robes. So robes of cotton were just white, and if you had money, you could dye it into beautiful colors, like blue and purple and green. But these monks, they were trying to live a life of real happiness. And they were not trying to find happiness in beautiful colored clothing. And so they had one color available that they could find everywhere. And that was the color of the earth. At some regions, the color of the clay was brown and reddish. And if they would put these cloths in that color, it became a sort of reddish brown. And that helped also these monks to remind them that they themselves came from the earth. So we need food to eat. We need air to breathe. If there are no trees, there's no air and shade for us to live in. If there is no food, then our bodies cannot grow and sustain our life. And we need all of these conditions to continue. So we come from the earth. We are the earth. And this color was a reminder to be in touch with the earth, where we come from. Now this color started to change as in different countries there were different people having different resources available to them. And in Vietnam, where our teacher comes from, the monks, the farmers, they wear a very simple brown outfit. And so the monks also wanted to be in touch with those people that are living a very simple life. You come from Italy, right? Yeah. Well, one day we were in Italy and we met, I believe, the CEO, difficult word for the boss, of Gucci. And we said we wanted new robes because Thai said we need new robes in order to be modern in the time. And he looked at our robes and he was like, he said, "No, they're perfect." It is beautiful as it is. So, the monks in Vietnam wanted to be like the farmers. What kind of color do the farmers in Italy wear? Or the workers?
Arancione, azzurro, nero e giallo.
Orange, light blue, dark, black, and yellow.
Yes. Many different colors. But one color that many farmers often wear is blue. They have like blue overalls, like a kind of jean-like blue overall. And Thai said, maybe in the West, we need to start making robes out of this blue. To remind us that we are living simply and that we try to find our happiness in the present moment and not in beauty or possessions or things that are outside of us and that we don't currently have. And actually, the monks, I find it very helpful to wear brown, because do you sometimes spill your food on your clothing? Now, of course, the monks are always so mindful that that never happens. But when somebody else spills food on me, then you don't see it so much. So I like the color brown, and I think we can keep it, just like the Gucci designer. Thank you. Good question.
Pourquoi il y a chaque fois des cloches, il y a beaucoup de cloches dans ce village?
Why are there so many bells in this village?
Thank you for this question. Do you love it? Do you love listening to the sound of the bell? So in Plum Village, we have opportunity to we have a lot of opportunities to hang out with our friends. Okay, every year summer retreats, we have many friends who share a similar age. We come together from different places, and we have a chance to get to know each other, and we have a chance to hang out with each other. But we are also offered the opportunity to practice mindfulness as well. Mhm. So imagine if we spend hours to hang out, to run around the campus, we will get tired at one point. So that's why the bell is hung here and there in the hamlet is to help us to take a break. As you have been instructed by the brothers and sisters in the children program, that whenever you hear the sound of the bell, it's the opportunity for us to take a break. You stop running around, you stop talking, and you come back to be aware of our breathing. So by that practice, we have a time to stop using our energy from playing, from running. We recover so that we can play longer. But the sound of the bell also helps us when we get irritated by someone or something. We become aware of our breathing just to calm down ourselves, okay? So that we don't speak the language or to say something that could be harmful to our relationship with our friends who we love. So every time you listen to the sound of the bell, you have to train yourself a habit of smiling to yourself and come back to your body. Are you able to do that? You can.
But I have no bell with me.
Yeah, you will, if you come here every year, your interest of listening to the bell will be increased. Thank you for the question. Thank you very much, dear children, for your presence and question. So now you will be... You think? Okay. Okay, we can have one more question. We can have one more question. Last question.
So maybe we need to tell our children.
Okay, so this is the last question, okay?
We can ask in the Dharma sharing family. We can ask in the Dharma. Okay, so then we finish.
Okay, dear children, if there's no more question from the children, you can stand up now if you want, okay? And we will, that's one more.
Perché i monaci si devono rasare i capelli?
Why do the monks need to shave their head?
To save a shampoo. To save the shampoo. Actually, it's a practice. So when we wake up in the morning, we touch our head so that we know that we are monastic. And when we know that we are monastic, it means our practice every day is to check our heart. If our heart every day is getting bigger or not. Because in our life, there are people who are very easy to be loved. And there are people who are not easy to be loved. And in order to have more people to be loved, we need to make our heart bigger every day. So saving the hair as a monk is very helpful to remind us that we practice to love every day. But not only monks, but everyone also can practice this. Yeah. And the very basic practice is to enjoy our in-breath and out-breath. Because that is the first love that we can give to ourselves. And the love that we can receive from life. That we are given a chance to live and to love. Yeah, so the shaving the hair for the monk is to practice. And to save the shampoo too. So dear children, thank you very much. If you want to go outside to play, you can do so. But also we would like to remind the parents that there is no children program today. So that if the children go to outside to play, then we need to have some people. They have? No, now. Yeah, now we don't have. Yeah. So thank you very much, dear children. If you would like to go out to play, please do so.
So, dear Taide Sangha, as the children are going out, there will be empty spaces in the front. So please move forward so we can be together. So there's still some empty spots here in the front. So if you want to fill them up, you are more than welcome to sit a bit closer.
So, dear Sangha, now is the time for us to ask a question. And in Plum Village tradition, we know that a question from the heart can carry in itself the personal aspect and the collective aspect. So once we are able to express our question from the heart, we will see that there's a collective aspect in it as well. in which proves, which demonstrates that that question can benefit many. A question from the heart can reach, can speak to many. And at the same time, the one who asks will also see the collective aspects in his or her question as well. And to realize that our own difficulties, our own sufferings, it's not an individual matter. And by seeing that, relief will take place. So make sure that our question is from the heart. So we will enjoy one sound of the bell. And if any of us who has a question, you are also invited to come up here and sit. And we continue to listen to one more sound of the bell before we ask the question. Thank you very much.
Dear Thai, dear brothers, dear community, thank you for this opportunity. I wrote my question, but I have also it in French, so I can. Je peux la dire en français aussi. I worked last month on my tendency to look for perfection, for things to be complete, achieved, finished, especially through psychoanalysis. I noticed it was difficult to accept imperfection and lack in general, and that it was a source of suffering. I feel that lack is part of our lives and that it's important to accept it to avoid to be too demanding and frustrated. But isn't there a contradiction between this approach and some notions of Plum Village teachings? Oh, slower. Okay. Yeah, sorry. You want I repeat? Yeah. From the beginning? Yeah, okay. So, I worked last month on my tendency to look for perfection, for things to be complete, achieved, finished, especially through psychoanalysis. I noticed it was difficult to accept imperfection and lack, le manque, in general, and that it was a source of suffering. I feel that lack is part of our lives and that it's important to accept it, to avoid to be too demanding and frustrated. But isn't there a contradiction between this approach and some notions of Plum Village teachings? As looking for plenitude, to be 100% present, and mindfulness itself. I'm sorry for this question, it's maybe difficult, but that's what is in me at that time. So these notions could encourage us to try to fill, to control, to fill the void, the emptiness, to secure. Shouldn't we practice with the emptiness more than the fullness? With the complexity of what is showing itself and what is hiding itself? With the coexistence of the opposites, the contraries? More than trying to reach an unambiguous ideal of completeness. Est-ce que je l'ai dit en français ou ça va? Oui. J'ai travaillé cette année à travers la psychanalyse en particulier sur ma tendance à vouloir que les choses soient parfaites, complètes, finies. J'ai remarqué que j'avais du mal à accepter l'imperfection et le manque et que c'était une source de souffrance. Il me semble que le manque fait partie de nos vies et qu'il est bon de l'accepter pour ne pas se sentir trop frustré ou trop exigeant. Mais n'y a-t-il pas une contradiction entre cette démarche d'acceptation du manque et de l'imperfection et certaines notions enseignées au village des pruniers, telles que la recherche de la plénitude, être 100% présent ou même la pleine conscience? Ces notions ne nous encourageraient-elles pas à vouloir remplir, combler, contrôler, sécuriser? L'essence de la pratique se situerait-elle pas plutôt dans le vide que dans vouloir ce qui est rempli, dans la coexistence des contraires, dans la complexité de ce qui se montre et de ce qui se cache, plutôt que dans un idéal de complétude univoque?
Thank you for your question. So, dear Thai, dear Sangha, so there's one image that comes to my mind, and that is that the Buddha has, that the teachings are like the finger pointing to the moon. And please don't use the contemplation on the finger to distract you from what it is pointing to, namely the experience of looking at the moon and the wonder of it. And so in our quest to understand, we might get lost in an intellectual understanding and trying to find a solution to our problems. And in my experience, the solution to my problems lie first of all in my experience of my mind, and especially my feelings, and especially my body. So when I recognize that there is something in me that feels not good enough, that is looking for perfection, that is wanting things, then I try to connect to what is the living experience of this part in my being right now. And so I remove the idea that it is a thing or a problem, and I switch to the part of my mind that is capable of connecting to it as a living being. Something in me that is alive. Maybe it is an expression of something that is more like a little boy, that is in need of something. And what I then do is I sing it a song. And I will teach you this song. So, the song goes like this. Hello, hello, something in me. I am aware that you are in there and you sure have got a good reason to be. Hello, hello, something in me. I am aware that you are in there and I'm going to keep you company. So, let's try it together. Hello, hello, something in me. I am aware that you are in there and you sure have got a good reason to be. So, hello, hello, something in me. I am aware that you are in there and you sure have got a good reason to be. And the next one is, hello, hello, something in me. I am aware that you are in there and I'm going to keep you company. Hello, hello, something in me. I am aware that you are in there and I'm going to keep you company. Wonderful. Something happens to us when we go from solving to singing. If we sing to ourselves in our mind, it helps us to recognize that there is a presence that is singing to an experience that I want to know how it is itself feeling. And in order to know what that is experiencing in itself, it needs to feel that I am not trying to change it. It needs to feel my love for it, so that my presence, my awareness, my mindfulness gives this confidence, this support that is letting it know you can be like this and I will be there for you. And you can be like this even if it takes my whole life. With that kind of quality of presence, it can sort of relax and build a relationship of trust with yourself. And when it feels trusted enough that you are capable of listening, then it will reveal the experience of pain and suffering. And together, a transformation can happen. So for me, that is the practice of embracing and deep looking. And for me, it's really important that we see that when we are practicing mindfulness, we look at our attitude towards it. And we come back into relationship with it. And embrace it with the wonders of life. So in our experience, there are all these wonders. And when we are able to be with those wonders and experience them in our body and in our feelings, we can get more space, and that space will help embrace whatever is there in you. So I hope you will use it in order to go to the body, feel how whatever is expressing itself, how it is manifesting as sensation in the body, and how there are feelings, and how those sensations and feelings are not only there locally in one part of the body, but that the other parts in the body, they are quite fine. They are not suffering in the same way. And when you recognize that it's not your whole being that is suffering, but just a part in you that is suffering, then already there is more space. And that can help you to bring the mindfulness, that can care for it as a mother does for a child. And so we become our own parent. And we do that over and over and over again. So it's really a training of attitude in your experience. So thank you for your question.
Dear friends, I just would like to follow along and just to add in just a little bit some of my personal experience. So when we learn about history, we may see that something outstanding in our past century, the 20th century, is individualism. And we are living in the 21st century, and we heard about brotherhood, sisterhood. We hear about collective insights. And we also heard about the art of leadership. So for us, we can say that the way that we, the monastic brothers, we get trained, we get grown, also based on this insight of this collective insight. So so when we learn about the art of leadership, it is not like we are someone outside, like pointing the hands of doing this, of doing that to our people. But what we have been practicing is to look around in our group of people and to see what talents do they have, what things that they are good at, what aspects of this mutual project that they can offer, and we will open that opportunity. We will awaken. We will help them to water the good seeds in them, so that they can offer their best. Because if we ask for perfection, we know that this was the problem of the 20th century, where every of us, we have different conditions. We have difference in our growth. We have difference in our life experience. We have different educations. So our practice is to be aware of the individual insight will never be as powerful and as influential as a collective insight. Individual insight can actually shine light on the collective insight, but if we can value the collective insights by awakening, by waking up the potentials in each individual. I would say that is something we can learn, so that the mind of demanding, the mind of perfection, can have a chance to rest and to take refuge in the realm of collective insights. So in my cooking team as well, like whenever I'm assigned to be the team leader, I don't want to ask these brothers to be in charge of this dish, and that brother is in charge of that dish. So normally I will ask, hey bro, what dish would you like to offer today? What thing would you like to offer today? I don't ask them, you take care of the salad, you take care of the tofu. So in the past, it was my way of coordinating the cooking team. But now, since I arrived here, I learned about this technique. I learned how to water the talents in him, in those brothers. And I ask them to offer. Because as he loves making this dish, he will make it beautifully. And I don't have to have stress on over worrying that he will not make that this, presentable, for example. So it is a practice for us to take refuge in the collective insights, as well as to allow conditions for the best of each individual to manifest, to flourish. So it is something that I would like to offer. Thank you very much.
Dear Thai, dear Sangha, yesterday we had a talk or training about the 5 mindfulness trainings. Is that better? Yeah? Okay. Sorry. So yesterday we had the 5 mindfulness training talk here, and I was very curious and came back on the sentence, aware of the suffering caused by many things. And the question that arose for me was on the suffering part, being that we come into this world for experience, to live, to be happy, to love. And I am questioning the reason for the suffering, as in the more I speak and question and listen to people, I realize that we're all suffering from many illnesses or many ill behaviors of beings. And so my question to you or to the community would be, why are we here to suffer in some way? And so I'm pondering about this question, really.
It's a good question. Why we talk about suffering and why we need to suffer? I think every one of us, we are always ready to be happy. Is there anybody not ready to be happy? I think we are all free to be happy. And the only thing that we are not free is to suffer. We're never ready to suffer. Can you imagine if we are ready to suffer at any time? Then we are free completely in this life because we are ready for everything. We are also not ready for the neutral feeling. We feel numb when we don't have suffering or we don't have happiness. So this is something that we want to explore as a collective human being, to help each other so that we can live happily on earth without excluding suffering. We are not ready to suffer does not mean that we have to exclude suffering. But instead we need to learn and to explore how to suffer in a way that we can continue to have joy in our life. Life is so short. Yesterday in the talk we also heard about, we always think that we can live 100 years. But that is not a guarantee, right? So to be happy and to cultivate joy, the capacity to be happy and to have joy in life is so crucial. And that is why we have to learn from our mistakes. The mistakes that create suffering in our life. And to learn how to embrace that difficulty. That is why in practicing mindfulness, the body is one of the reference for us to arrive in the present moment. But we are not end our mindfulness practice in our body only. But we also explore how to practice with our feeling. And we also practice with our emotion. And also practice with our way of thinking. So they are called 4 establishments of mindfulness. Yeah. And our suffering is not only come from our lifetime. So when we look at our young age until today, maybe we have recognized that we have done something that create our own suffering. And we want to learn from that so that we can continue beautifully in the future. And for the future to be possible, we need the present moment. And our action is produced in every moment through our thinking, through our speech, and through our action. And that is why the 5 mindfulness training is so crucial for us to measure our action, whether it costs us suffering or it costs us happiness. And when it costs us suffering, then we know what is the root, and we know how to embrace it and see if we can transform it. So without a close observation, we will not be able to navigate our action, our thinking, our mind. Because our mind has no shape, but you can feel the intensity. You can feel it. Yeah. So that is why the 5 mindfulness training is very helpful for us to recognize what is happening in the way of thinking, speaking, and acting. And one thing that we learned also, that our life, our suffering, our happiness is not only from our life. We are continuation from our father and mother. And when our genetic ancestor transmit to us ourselves, they don't keep anything for themselves. They transmit fully their whole self. All the information of their self is recorded in the gene, and transmit fully to us. And that is why we also inherited their face, inherited their intelligence, inherited their languages, inherited their happiness, also their suffering. So when we practice 5 mindfulness training, we also can recognize the habit of our ancestor that can cause the suffering for themselves and for ourselves and for the future generation. And to do this work, individual is very difficult, very challenging. So that is why we propose this 5 mindfulness training as a collective practice for the humanity to have this collective awareness on themselves and also on the other people in relationship to another human being, plants, animals, and also the earth. Yeah. So I hope it is answering your question why we need to explore suffering.
I'd like to add a little bit, and the answer was already quite complete. So I think, why do we focus and say the word suffering so much, and seems to be bringing people back into their suffering all the time in Plum Village? I think first of all, we're doing that because we are already doing that. When you're aware of that you're suffering or not aware of that you're suffering, our suffering controls our lives a lot, and it is helpful to become aware of it so you can see the root of it and make more wiser choices. But there is one point of what you're saying is pointing to that when we become aware of suffering, when we are practicing with our suffering, sometimes it can be that that we think that we are practicing with our suffering and embracing our suffering while we are actually feeding our suffering. And so becoming aware of the suffering actually makes it worse. And so it is a very good question to ask yourself. I am embracing my suffering right now, but am I feeding it, or is this actually helpful? And for some people, when suffering comes up, it's a very strong magnet, and they really get pulled towards it, and it just becomes too much. Especially in sitting meditation, when your eyes are closed and your body is still, and then maybe the breath feels actually, it becomes more of a struggle than that it becomes helpful. And in that moment, we need space. We need the right distance from our suffering in order to have the capacity to offer it joy and happiness and love. And so the art of suffering is being able to give the suffering the right conditions. And so this might be that, so what I do is like when I am recognizing my suffering and I start to be with my suffering, I ask myself, is this a cozy, pleasant experience for the suffering right now? And when I ask that question, usually I recognize that it is actually a quite bleak kind of presence that I am offering to the suffering. And it is not such a pleasant environment for the suffering to be in. And so I'm like, okay, what can I do? And I recognize in the present moment what is already there, where I can place my awareness in that will be helpful and supportive for my well-being. That can be the breath, but sometimes the breath actually pulls you too deep into the suffering. So it can be your feet touching the ground, your body and feeling your weight. Or it can be just looking around and seeing nature, recognizing that right now There's suffering there, but there's also nature. And then the mind sort of starts to expand. And there starts to be some enjoyment. And with that, there is a bit more space. And I go a little bit further away from the suffering, and I check again, is it now a pleasant experience for the suffering? And when it is, then suffering is also no longer a problem. Then I can just happily suffer. Suffering. Hello, my dear. I see you. Let's suffer together. That's the art of suffering. I had that friend. My friend is not good enough. And that friend manifested itself, and I felt like, oh. And I said, oh, hello, my dear. I see you. I create some space. Let's together look at the trees. Let's together feel our footsteps. And with that, space comes up, and I can truly treat it as a friend, as a beloved being. So it's really what we're trying to teach you in Plum Village is the art of suffering, because the art of suffering is the art of happiness. But it doesn't sell as well. Thank you for your question.
So, dear friends, we can have time for maybe the last question, okay, before we end the session.
My best friend, the person I cherish most with my wife and children, is sick. Most of the time I can avoid this reality, but when I get in touch with it, with this reality, for instance, during Avalokiteshvara chanting, I feel I'm collapsing inside. I just cry. So in both cases, I don't believe this can help him. So my question is, how can I practice with this reality?
Maybe I repeat the question, check if it is correctly understood. So you have a friend that is sick, and every time you try to get in touch with that situation, you feel overwhelmed by that. And the question is how to practice with that.
Dear friend, thank you for the question. In Buddhist teaching, we learn about a true legacy, a true offering we can offer to ourselves and to our beloved one. And that offering is our presence of fearlessness, of solidity. So there are things that happened in our life or in our friend's life. And we know that being able to generate some joy in our daily life, being able to generate moments of gratitude in life, we never underestimate this practice. It's like, poetically, we collect the sunshine, we collect the white clouds, we collect the woods for the winter. So when we witness the suffering that is happening in our beloved one, it is very important on how and what type of offering we offer to him or to her. Are we able to look at the suffering with the eyes of tranquility, of understanding? Because in the suffering of any individual, it has the collective aspects and it has the individual aspects. So if we want to not to be carried away by situation, by the reality, I think we should develop enough amount of understanding about the situation. Because there's always a reason or the roots of the suffering. And we have to look at the individual wise and we have to look at the collective wise. So once we have enough understanding about the reality, we gain fearlessness, we gain solidity, and that's something we can offer. They need our presence there with that amount of understanding. And that we can develop by ourselves. So whenever we make a step, are we able to generate some kind of gratitude within ourselves? Are we able to generate some joy, some happiness, just by laying the steps on the ground or allow our steps to flow on the ground? So if you are able to be in touch with those fundamental joy, with those essential joy, it increases our understanding about the reality. And we look into the family, we look into the society of our beloved one's life, of our friend's life. It will help us to understand why the suffering is there. And then there will be ways for us to offer. But developing, nourishing the seed of fearlessness or of solidity, it is very much depending on our practice, on how we cherish each step we make, on how we appreciate the time we listen to the sound of the bell. If we dwell deeply enough, peacefully enough, every time that we enjoy the sound of the bell, we are cultivating that fearlessness, that understanding about reality. That's something from my... I hope that our brothers can offer some more.
Thank you for your question. Sitting here, I feel there's something here in my belly, because when sitting in a panel like this, there's a tendency in me to be like, okay, now's my chance, and then I will finally be listened to. And then a little bit of fear of taking the space of my brothers. And the shame of being still having, this fight between the balance of like the harmony I have with my brothers and my personal desire. So this is just what is alive in me right now. And it manifests a little bit in a kind of slumped posture. So I have something very concrete that I practice. Because very often, for example, when I walk and I recognize, I'm not doing very well, my posture slumps and my shoulders go forward. And I recognize what is happening in my body, like now this feeling here. And I propose to it, how about making my body stand tall? So I propose it, I connect to the experience in the body, and then I gently hold its hand. And then while staying connected, I allow this intention to be in the lead, to move the body into a more straight position. And so, for example, right now I can do that by slowly moving, staying in contact with that feeling, and already I feel something that goes like, So it is incredibly simple, but I sit down and it has changed. So sometimes our experience of being overwhelmed expresses itself in the body and in a holding pattern in the body. And the only thing that it needs is that the body needs to experience, because you cannot talk to the body. The body's language is experience. So it needs to experience, I'm not stuck. I can move. And it needs your presence with it in order to do that. So that's one practice that I do. I allow myself to recognize I'm slumped. I don't change it, but I feel how it feels to be slumped. Then I bring the intention to bring up straight. I notice how it is for that part to feel like that. And then with my hand in hand, I bring myself in an upright posture. And that can go, if you go very slowly, holding it back a little bit, is incredibly effective. The second practice that I do is I practice walking meditation, and I do it in a way that I, first of all, notice the swaying of my body from the left side of the body and my left foot to the right side of my body and my right foot. So that's my object of awareness. Shifting, feeling this weight shifting from the left and to the right. And something happens in the brain when you switch from the left side of the brain to the right side of the brain, from the left side of the brain, the right side of the brain. Some scientific research is saying that it calms the amygdala when you do that. And so Thai healed himself with walking meditation like that. So, so these are. I just want to offer these two practices to help. Thank you.
Dear Thai, dear community, thank you very much for your attention. I use the word attention because right now our attention is very valuable things that we have. And I hope that each of us, until the end of this retreat, we can maintain to put our attention in the right place so that we can nourish ourselves. Because where we put our attention, that is what we consume, according to the 5th mindfulness trainings. So this week until the end, we can put our attention to what is nourishing us, put attention to our family members, our children, our partner, our Dharma sharing family, just to recognize the presence of each other and being present ourselves in order to nourish our togetherness, to celebrate the humanity and the diversity. We will listen to the 3 sounds of the bell to end our session and enjoy the good lazy day and enjoy your picnic lunch too.